bad shot, brilliant shot. And where was Paul George? This guy, Lillard, was 7 for 11 from 30 feet or more in the postseason. He wasn't guarded. He shot 39% this year from 30 to 40 feet. He wasn't guarded. There's only one player who's made a buzzer beater in the last 15 years, a playoff clinching walk-off buzzer beater. He's now hit 2 of them, and he wasn't guarded. No, it was a bad shot. It was bad on Paul George. Get into his face. It was brilliant. And I love the way the shot was such air to air, such hang time. He took like 2 steps back before it went through the net. Also, I love the fact that fans came off the sidelines to hug him during the celebration. It was tremendous.
Tremendous, says Bill Plaschke. Yes, thank you very much. We had that one covered. Woody, take me through your range of emotion as upon seeing Lillard at this shot.
Good shot. Very good shot. Great shot. And it was bad defense. Not only was George 6 feet away when the play kind of started, that he was too late to come up and guard him. You know at that point with 2 or 3 seconds to go that he has to shoot. He can't go inside, shoot something shorter. And the other thing is, why not run somebody else? You got a guy that scored 50 points in the game. How about giving George some help there? I know he's a good defensive player, but we wonder about his shoulder still. And I think you run somebody else at him and really make the pressure on him to throw it to somebody else. And they're not going to be probably as successful as him, particularly from 37 feet. As Bill pointed out, he makes 67% of his shots beyond
this year,
30
yes.
feet.
This year he's shooting incredible from that range. Frank Isola is shaking his head in disbelief. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, it's like we have Dennis Johnson and Scottie Pippen on the panel talking about the defense of Paul George play. Paul George is one of the better defenders in the league. He's long. He made Damian Lillard make a 37-foot shot, guys. You're making it sound like he got blown by and a layup at the rim. If he crowds him with 2 seconds left, Lillard has the ability to put the ball on the floor, hit a pull-up jumper. Give Damian Lillard all the credit in the world.
He was 37 feet away.
Shot. End a series, win a game, and score 50 points. No, he wasn't. He was in his face. Come on, stop.
Okay,
stop.
so you think the defense was fine. Again, 2 seconds left. How can he blow by somebody with 2 seconds left and pull up
jumper
from 31, Frank? I mean, he was 37
without
feet away.
A defender in his face.
KB, where are you on this?
No, give me with Frank. I'm with him on this. I mean, I don't know what more Paul George could have done in this case. Let's not forget, this was a step back 3 to 37 feet.
Yep.
That's amazing when you can see the logo of the court and the guy is stepping back to that. Paul George is a good defender. He had his arms stretched out. He's long. He's tall. We know that.
Okay.
It was just a great shot, and sometimes you just have to give credit to greatness, and that's what we saw this particular time, and we saw all through this series from one Dame Lillard.
Well, here's the thing, all right? I mean, the evolution of the game over the last half a decade or so. This has been a bad shot in basketball for the first 75 years of the game. It's not a bad shot anymore. We see, you gave us the stats, Plaschke. You gave us the stats, Woody. Let's talk a little bit more about Damian Lillard, okay? Are you now finally seeing Lillard, Frank, the way Portland sees Lillard, the way Portland fans see Lillard as a top 5 player in the NBA? Talk about what this means, because this, for me, was a moment, you'll remember where you were when you saw Lillard hit this shot.
Well, Tony, I think it's a great point. I think when you look at this series, what did it do for the legacy and reputation of Damian Lillard? It enhanced it. And then you look at for Westbrook, I think it really hurt his legacy and his reputation. Damian Lillard has been a guy, because there's so many great players, especially in the Western Conference, getting left off the national team, getting left off the All-Star team. And he's an Oakland guy. So right in his backyard, he sees Steph Curry, become a 2-time MVP and win all these championships. But last night, he got to show everybody, you talk about a brilliant player, a classy player, and how much he means to that organization, which, by the way, they got swept last year. So they didn't panic, blow up the team. They kept it together, and look where they are.
KB, do you see Lillard in a different light?
I don't see him in a different light, but I think other people will. I've always thought that he was arguably the second best point guard out west. And you know what? Yep. Behind James Harden in point guards in the league, his estimated wins added and his value added is second, only to James Harden. This guy can beat you with the jump shot, crazy jump shots as we saw last night, and he can blow by you and get to the rim. That twisting reverse layup he kind of had, that was a big shot in this same game. And he can carry a team. Remember, this is a guy who's carrying this team without one of its key players. Yeah. If there's a knock against him, it's maybe that they lost to the Pelicans, that got upset by them the other year. But no, this guy's a top-level player.
I want to go deeper, though. Even putting stats to the side, because, Kevin, you just gave stats about point guards, and Harden technically listed as a point guard in some statistic measures, but he's got Chris Paul on his team playing point guard as well. We see what Russell Westbrook does at the point guard position. But Woody Page, having a shot like that on your resume for Damian Lillard, what does it mean?
It means that he can join the list of the greatest players in the league. And what I always liked about him, he didn't ask out of Portland. He wasn't trying to go to the coast, either one of the coasts. Yep. He was happy to stay a little bit away from the coast in Portland and build that team. I think people wouldn't talk about him in the same sentence with Chris Paul or Harden or Westbrook or any of the other point guards that were out west. And it bothered me 2 years ago when he actually did complain one of the few times when he wasn't elected to the All-Star team or voted on the All-Star team. I think he finally got on there because somebody got hurt. But, I mean, the guy's an All-Star. Okay. He can't recognize that. But now I think he moves up into the highest elite in the league. The people go, this is a winner.
The highest, what was that? The highest, what was the word you used? Was it elite? I think you did.
He said it.
Also, maybe a geography lesson might be in need. If you ever get to Jeopardy and geography comes up, don't guess Portland is far from the coast, Woody Page. Plashke, how about you?
Is there any player in the playoffs who you'd want with the ball in their hands more in the clutch right now? Is he the best clutch shooter in the postseason right now in the NBA? Yes, you have to say this. Only 5 players in history have had walk-off buzzer beaters, and of course he's had 2 of them. He's the guy. And KB, you compare him to James Harden. There's no comparison. If you would, I'd much rather him have the ball than James Harden down the stretch. And I think he's showing this, that his all-around game, he has to be considered among the, as Woody said, the highly elite.
Don't do it yourself, though, Plashke. Frank, you want to give pause to Lillard as the most clutch player in the NBA?
I mean, he is a terrific player, but you talk about being a prisoner of the moment. Bill, did you forget about Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant? They still play. They've made pretty big clutch shots.
They've never entered a series with a buzzer beater.
That's one thing about this, right? We put so much emphasis on winning championships that when moments like this come along, and they happen, Allen Houston, Larry Johnson, Brandon Roy had one for Portland about 5-6 years ago, it's almost like, well, you never won a championship. This is an enormous moment.
Absolutely it is. I'm saying that Klay Thompson, what about his Game 6 against Oklahoma City years ago? His Game 6 last year against Houston. You talk about clutch shots.
We have to move on, but real quick, I want an obituary on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Where did they go with Russ? Where do you go with a team that's been out in the first round 3 straight years, Bill Plashke?
They're 4-12 since Durant left with Westbrook in the playoffs. They haven't won a playoff series. When are they going to realize Russell Westbrook is the problem? He shot him out of the game. He missed that layup last night. He shot him out of every series they've lost.
If you're going to get rid of Russell Westbrook, you're going to have to bring in somebody who's better than Russell Westbrook. Let's see if Woody Page has an idea where they go.
Well, he's on a $205 million contract, and he's going to make $38.5. I think you could bring in 2 or 3 players to replace him. I would send him to the coast. You're so in love with being on the coast, to either the Clippers or the Lakers. I would like Bill to have to put up with him for the next 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Next question.
But the point is, they got to get rid of Donovan. They got to get rid of Westbrook. They're $35 million over the salary cap. For what?
Kevin Blackistone, are you getting rid of Russell Westbrook if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder, like Plashke and Page are?
No, but you're going to have to ask Russell to do what may be impossible for Russell to do, and that's change his game at this stage in his career. And that's going to be very difficult. But quite frankly, I mean, they're stuck. We always ask this question at this point in the season about OKC. What's going forward? They've changed the coach. They lost Kevin Durant. Presti's still there running things. Maybe they need to make a change there and get a new philosophy going forward. But they're not going anywhere with this
Westbrook's
team.
a problem.
Frank Isola.
Could be.
But by the way, Kevin, they did get him to change. Paul George became the guy. He was the MVP candidate in this team. He'll finish in the top 5. The final possession of the game for Oklahoma City was typical Russell Westbrook, wanting to play hero ball. But one thing about Paul George down the stretch, he was 1 for 4 from the free throw line, missed his last 3 foul shots, and he also had a huge turnover. So this is both of them, just like a few years ago when it was both Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook.
It's entirely possible you'll find out, though, he has a labrum issue, Paul George, because he's looked injured for the. But you gave credit to Portland for not breaking up the team after losing in the first round last year.
That's right.
But you're not exactly doing that with Oklahoma City. We've been horned. We need to move on.
No, I'm not breaking it up.
And if a 37-foot dragon glass dagger wasn't enough for you last night, Sharks and Golden Knights, this game, stupidity, ludicrosity. You can celebrate San Jose's comeback from 3-0 with 11 to go and Kevin LeBank's power play. But here it is, probably the 10th time you've seen it. The checks that led to Pavelski's fall, that led to his head on the ice and blood, and the 5 minutes that changed this game following that.
Call it 5 minutes for that. That's, why don't you have a hockey replay or something? Change the whole outcome of the game. And the game is not even close. It's 3-0. Call it 2, okay, but a 5 with something you don't even see, you just call the outcome. It's a f***ing joke.
Marcia So says the refs stole this game from Vegas. Did they, Frank?
I don't agree with that at all. I do think a lot of times referees tend to officiate what the score is. If that's an overtime, are they giving a 5-minute major? Probably not. But he was cross-checked. Then he got hit again by a player on Vegas, head into the ice. This is the Vegas Knights. This is their fault that they lost this game. Up 3-0, 10 minutes to go. You commit that penalty. Marc-Andre Fleury couldn't make any saves. I put it on them, not the referees.
They were up 3-1 in this series. They gave up a shorthanded goal in Game 6 in order to have to play a Game 7. Right. They could have stopped the puck at some point. The referees made a judgment call based on the results, maybe not on
That's
the
a good
action.
point, Kevin.
Clearly that was not a
Well, let me ask Woody
head,
this then. The question is, did the refs react to the severity of the check or the severity of the injury?
Oh, the injury, because the one referee, if you look closely, wasn't even looking at what was going on. Afterward, through a pool reporter, they said, well, it was a stick to the face. It wasn't, to the chest. So it should have been a 2-minute penalty, and then you move on.
So you believe the Golden Knights got hosed here?
When you got... Yes, I do.
And Bill Plaschke, same question to you. Is it okay if the refs made a call based on the severity of the injury more so than the check?
No, it's not okay. They didn't call a penalty when it happened. Only when they saw the blood did they make the call. Terrible call. And yes, I do blame the referees for this game. You guys got to understand, they had for the whole end of the game, they were playing with a man down. It didn't like they played horribly. They were penalized for the rest of the game. 4 goals, a man down with each of those goals. That's stealing the game from them. I think they absolutely should.
The reason they were a man down. Stop. The cross-check, which lets the guy get hurt.
That's a man who's down right now, going into buy or sell. We'll see what he's got in store for us
yes, but
when we get to the coast.